Hi there. I really wanted this video to be a V-split tumbler, tracksuit, whatever you want to call it. It's not gonna work. I am in love with this vinyl that I picked up from Peachy Olive's booth at Tumblercon. I'm in love with it. If I do any kind of a V in any way, it takes away from how pretty this is. So what I've decided is I'm gonna cut it almost in the middle, close enough to the middle to count, and we are going to use this kind of as our main point of focus. We're going to go across the top here, and then we're going to glitter the bottom. Glittering the bottom is a nice little change up where you have the print here and you can put your name there. Your options are wide open. You could glitter there, vinyl here. You could vinyl the whole thing and glitter in the middle. It doesn't matter. Your options are wide open. So let's get this cut in half. We'll get it applied to our cup, which is just prepped and base painted black. And then we will tape it off and do our glitter. All right, to make it a little easier for myself, I'm gonna cut the width pretty close to what I need, but first I'm gonna actually trim off a little bit from each side because I don't want to lose my butterfly by completely overlapping it, but I also don't want this flower taking over the world. Another thing you could do if you really had the time and you had the patience, you could kind of cut right along there and let it overlap onto this. But that's still a little bigger than I need it to be, so I'll still end up losing a fair amount of my butterfly. So I'm going to tinker with it and kind of see exactly where I want to cut. But you've got so many options. You could literally just pick your favorite spot, trim it down the middle here, scallop it, whatever. I have that pretty close. It obviously overlaps a lot more there than it does here. That's all right. I saw this super cool hack on TikTok the other day. When you're not cutting on the mat with an actual conical warp, you can do this right here. Of course, I'll clean off the rim with alcohol at some point. But you can kind of curve it just like that, and you get your conical warp for your top part. You can absolutely also just cut it with a blade whenever you're done if you want. But you can also do it this way just to save yourself a little bit of hassle. I'll definitely be cleaning up my edges when I'm done, but at least this saves me that tiny, tiny bit of hassle getting it on there. Pretty good. Not perfect. That's okay. So now, let's get it on there. I pre-cut a little strip off of here just to make it a little easier. So I'm going to get an idea of my placement here. Whenever you're cutting something on a tapered surface, it's not square. So I did not want to line this up straight that way. Wouldn't have worked. So putting that little piece there allows you to kind of work it around and make sure you've got a decent alignment overall. Some people like to do wet method on applying the vinyl, which is great because then you are it's easier to work out the air bubbles. But for this, I'm just going to go really slow and work it out as I go. If you end up kind of working your way into having an air bubble, like you can see right there, just kind of gently lift it back up. Very carefully so you don't rip or warp your vinyl, and then just continue on. that's on there. Now we have to deal with that right there. So what I'm gonna do is take my ruler. This is gonna be hard to see on camera, but I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna go straight down with my blade. But I have to make sure that I'm at least in the middle of this layer here so that I don't accidentally cut it too short. So we're gonna do just like this. Nice and careful. Normally, I would definitely say don't cut towards yourself, because we all know how that plays out. But I'm being very, very careful and going nice and slow. Okay, so I'm gonna take off that layer. Now I'm gonna peel this top one back and take off that bottom layer and then lay it back nice and flat with no air bubbles. It's weird, there's a spot in there. This is my old busted knife here. No judgment, right? I didn't really think that through, but that's okay. Yeah, it goes all the way over there. That's okay. I am going to do this off camera because it's going to be a big fumbly mess. But what I'm doing is peeling off this top layer so that I can remove that bottom layer that I just trimmed. And then we'll lay this back down nice and flat. Well, that was fun. I did not really think that through, but that's okay. We triumphed in the end, and that's all that really matters. Nice and smooth seam right there. Beautiful. There's a couple little spots in here somehow. I guess because there's like air fluttering around glitter. That jet just scared the crap out of me. Because I guess there's glitter literally in the air. Somehow I ended up with tiny little pieces of glitter underneath. Some of these may truly be little air bubbles. What we can do on those is prick them with a super fine pin. There's one right there. And hit them with the heat gun. But overall, I'm really satisfied with how this came on here, or ended up on here. Another thing you can do to kind of camouflage some of these little pieces is put some additive in your epoxy. It'll kind of camouflage just a little bit of that. If it was up here or down here, I would just use my little cup trimmer tool that I got at from Wicked Shimmer, but it's not, so I'm just going to do as best as I can right here. That sound is annoying. I promise to not torture you with that anymore. I'm going to mute this part of the video. Glad I don't have to listen to that all the time, because I don't know that I could handle that. When you do this part, do it carefully just in case you missed a spot or didn't go all the way through or whatnot. You don't want to end up ripping up your vinyl. Now we want to use electrical tape. I almost said painter's tape earlier, so I had to like go back and delete that. Painter's tape does not stay flat for this. It's not as easy to work with. So I'm going to use this right here. I don't want my beginning piece to be right here where my seam is. I don't want to run the risk of lifting it on accident. So I'm just going to go as straight as I possibly can all the way around. You can see where I made myself a little lip right there. it's okay that it's not perfect on this as well. Anybody that's going to go around it with like a T-square to figure out if you got it perfect, I wish I had that much time on my hands. There we go there. So I'm going to mix up a small batch of fast set so that I can come back and take this off in like 10 minutes. You don't want to forget that because it will definitely be a mess. And I don't have a glitter that I am just completely satisfied with, so I'm mixing several. This is just kind of my prototype mixture here. It's about 60% of Peacock Chunky from Love All Bling. I do have a new customer code. I'll double check that it works before I put it in the link. I put the link in the description, but I'm pretty sure it's $5 off your first purchase. Haven't looked at it in a minute. And then we're going to do a splash of Rose Gold Chunky. This is just to kind of get these softer tones here. It's pretty good. And then a splash of First Kiss Chunky. This is a red orange, and it is so pretty under epoxy. I figured that would kind of encompass both of these color tones there. Mostly this with a splash of these. So let's see what that looks like. I'm pretty happy with that. This is probably 80% Peacock with the splashes of the other two. It may even be 90%. I didn't measure, I just poured and stirred. But I'm pretty happy with that. So let's mix up the epoxy and we'll get that on there. I'm not sure how, but I almost forgot to hit record. Actually, I did forget to hit record up until this moment. So if you've seen any of my other videos using chunky glitter in the past, you know that I like to lay it on thick for the chunkies. I feel like it allows it to lay down flatter without me having to come and pat it down quite so much. So I mixed up 5 milliliters of liquidy split. And so now I'm ready to sprinkle on this mix that I made. That little bit that I made should be enough to do this. I'll just do a little at a time, that way I can just pour it back in this cup as we go. Ooh, that's gonna be so pretty. Normally I would just dump this on here, but with my air conditioner going and kind of redirecting stuff, I'm gonna just kind of go little by little. Once I get this part done, I'll dump it back in the cup and do the bottom. Yes. I almost didn't mix enough of this up. I may have to make another batch. If that's the case, that's what I'll use on the bottom, just in case I don't get it quite as close as I want it to, or need it to be. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty in person. On screen, best I can tell, all you're catching is the holographic part. And so it looks like a lot of just black with colored sparkle. And in person, I'm seeing all the colors. I cannot believe that I literally mixed up the exact amount that I needed. Oy vey. Okay, so look for any bald spots, like right there. I'm kind of seeing a little something that could use a little attention. We're going to cover that seam right there with vinyl or nail tape. I haven't decided what I want to do there just yet, but we'll find out together. Make sure there's no bald spots on the bottom. One bald spot right there. It's pretty good. So I'm going to let this turn for a minute, and I'll come and pat down these bigger pieces if they don't lay down in the next couple of minutes. I'm going to set my timer, and I'm going to take this tape off very slowly and carefully at the 10-minute mark. Like I said, I'm using fast set, so I don't want to leave it on too long, but it doesn't need to stay on. an extended amount of time for sure. Not too many wild ones to pat down, just a couple. I'm just going to take a minute to do that because that will absolutely make it easier to get a smooth finish, especially right here. This is the area I struggle with pretty good. And the rims. Those are my weaknesses, you could say. My challenge areas. I really wish the camera did justice for this. The color combo is so perfect. I'll be sure and take a picture in the light, like outside, when it's all done. So now I'm going to carefully do this. I say carefully and then it doesn't want to play nice. This thing is moving faster than I want it to. So let's turn it off and we'll do it the other way. I'm not pulling straight up because I don't want to accidentally lift my vinyl. Okay. It's okay that there's a little bit of black showing right there because, like I said, we're going to put a vinyl border right there, or tape. So it's okay that it's not exact and perfectly crisp. We'll do that after we have a nice smooth layer of epoxy on here. This thing is so pretty. I am in love. I did put additive in my top layer like I had mentioned earlier. This is what I used. Just the tiniest little pinch is all it took. So now we are going to cover up our little seam here. And I'm going to use this kind of coppery and this turquoise. I think it'll be really, really pretty. These are both just from Hobby Lobby, by the way. Came in like a 5-pack and a 6-pack or something like that. So you just kind of take your time and cover up that seam. But you know, the goal is to get it on there straight, not what I just did. Okay, I got it straightened out. At first it just kind of looked wobbly and that was not a pretty look at all. I told y'all this craft knife has definitely seen better days. Probably should have grabbed the sharp one for this one. But why would I do things the easy way? That would not be on brand for me. So now I'm just looking for the open or the end of this one right there. And we're going to go right down the middle. I even have some super thin nail tape. This is washi from Hobby Lobby, but I have some super thin foil nail tape. I might take a peek real quick and see if I have one that's kind of maybe one of those coral colors. That might be really pretty. I got one little bump right there that I didn't catch earlier before doing this. Okay, so this is what it looks like if you don't make sure you don't have any bumps right there. I'm gonna take this off and redo it. There's just, if it was like one tiny one, I wouldn't be concerned, but there's way too many. So let's take this off. Let's sand at least right here and relay it. It's not a coral red. It's more of a true red. But you can't really tell on here. It just kind of almost looks like a rust color. I do still have one bump in there, but I'm not gonna let that get to me. It's a little one. So now what I'm gonna do is put a thin strip of UV resin on there, just because I don't want to risk it lifting when I put epoxy on here. Those washi tapes have this weird coating on them that I always have to flake off. It's weird. Anyways, so I'm going to put that on there, let it cure, or cure it with the light, and then we resin, or we epoxy, and then she's done. Oh yeah, and I also did this on the bottom. That's got one good layer of epoxy over it with air bubbles. Good gravy. Okay, anyways, it is what it is. I love these little tags that I got from Sparkle Monster. She's on Etsy. Very good. All right. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I'll tag all the stuff that I used, all the shop links. Some of them will have discount codes applied. Some of them won't. I don't think I have a discount code for Peachy Olive. I have one for Feather Bear, for Franz, and for Love All Bling. And of course that's just from Hobby Lobby. And then the nail tape I got from Amazon, not realizing how skinny that truly was going to be. But it's come in handy a few times, so it's okay. It's getting its use out of it. I'm getting its I'm getting use out of it. Why can I not talk? I'm caffeinated. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. And you have a good one.